So I got back from Israel a week from this Wednesday. So about almost like a week and a half ago, I came back. And it's the second time that I've been to Israel during a war. The first time was, I think it was about 2002, 2003. It was during the second Intifada. And I had already lived there 1 year on my junior year abroad. And when I lived there, there was a shop in Emanu-El that, slowly moved around. Emanu-El, that's the German colony. And the technical name of the store was Babette. We called her the waffle lady. And you'd go in and she would make these unbelievable Belgian waffles. Eventually everyone in Israel tried to copy her. There were waffle places all over the place. But every time I'd go and visit the waffle lady. And so 2003, I walk in and there are no tourists in Israel in 2003. It is second Intifada. There are bombs going off every day. That day, when I was there at that one time, I missed 3 bombings by a few hours. And I walk into Babette's, and she looks at me and she goes, "Nu, what are you doing here?" And I was in my 20s, and I go, "I'm here to support you." And she goes, support. You know something? If they really wanted to kill us, they should just leave us alone, and we'll just kill each other. And then she went on and on explaining the political situation in Israel, and at the very end she stopped, and then she looked me in the eye, and she said, "Thank you for being here." And that's the thing that I heard over and over again this time when I was there. And I heard it from people on the far right, on the far left, in the middle, and people just time and again would say, "Thank you for being here." And it's profoundly in the air in Israel right now. There was even a day when I was at the beach in Tel Aviv as Shabbat was coming to an end. The lifeguard is in Hebrew telling everybody, "Lifeguard's off duty, it's not safe, you shouldn't be in," it's all in Hebrew. You all should get out of the water. Shavua Tov, have a good week, and Am Yisrael Chai. Maybe the people of Israel live. And even, on the beach, it's that precious, it's everywhere. And in each of these 2 times, I have been left with 2 questions, which is, what is my job as a Jew outside of the land of Israel when it's in a place of war? And secondly, what is happening inside of Israel and what already happened in Israel? So the first thing I want to address is that question, what is my job? When I had the chutzpah to walk into the waffle lady shop and say, I'm here to support you. And if there was ever a Torah portion to talk about that, it is this week's Torah portion, Matot Maseh. Because in Matot Maseh, there is a war which is happening inside of Israel. And it's right at that moment that the tribes of Reuben and Gad, they pull Moses aside. They go, "Moses, listen, this is not really for us. We're going to go live on the other side of the Jordan because we're cattle people." I guess cattle people live on the other side of the Jordan. And Moses is not happy when he hears this because he's thinking, these are your brethren, and you're thinking about what's economically good for you and where it's better to raise cattle. And he goes off and he gives them a speech. And finally at the end, he says to them, "Are your brothers to go to war while you're here?" And they stop and they think about who are they, where are they, and what's going on over there. You see, eventually what happens with Reuben and Gad is they go, no, listen. We are going to live over here. We're going to live outside of the land of Israel, but we are going to support our brothers inside of Israel while the war is going on. And at that point, Moses, he realizes that there's actually a middle ground here. There's a way that you don't just have to be in the land to offer support. And so when I was in that waffle shop when I was currently on the beaches of Tel Aviv, when I was in Jerusalem, and people kept saying, thank you for being here. It's not the first time that's happened. It's not a 2024 thing, or a 2003 thing, or 1982, or 1973, or 67, or 56, or 48. We have been saying this for a long time. But that doesn't answer the question of what's my role. It just tells you, you have a role. We'll get back to that. So what is happening inside of Israel? Because 2003 and 2023 are both important moments inside of Israel. If you remember 2003, that is right in the Intifada. There is the impact of the Intifada. If I go back to 1999, to the election then, Israel as a country is left-wing. They have 36 seats in the left-wing part of the government, in the Knesset, which has 120 total, and it's a lot. And Likud, the right-wing party, has 19 seats. Intifada happens, and the policies of being on the left, Israel looks at it and goes, whew, so this is what happens with the left. And there's a trauma that happens inside of Israel. And I studied this with Micha Goodman at the Hartman Institute when I was there, is that he was really having us look of what happened in the past and how has Israel reacted. And he pointed out to us that at that time period of 2003, when Israel made this huge jump, when they went from all those seats, they dropped all the way down to 19 in 2003, and Likud, the right-wing party, went up to 38. And it was the shift. And he said to us, we know we like to talk about our national anthem, Hatikva, which is about the hope. He goes, if you want to know the secret, we're not a country which is led by hope. We're a country which is led by fear. And after 2003, the country was afraid of the left. And you've seen us move to the right, and to the right, and to the right. And it was never pure right until 2023. And in 2023, it was pure right, fully right. And 2023 is arguably the worst year in the history of Israel. Even I'm talking about before October 7th. Those first 9 months, you can think of it as a near cold civil war with society being torn in half over, is it a democratic state? Is it a Jewish state? We spoke about it on this bima. We had rallies at City Hall. You saw the tearing occurring. And then October 7th happens, where it shatters the ideal that Israel has, that it really has stepped out of Jewish history. That pogroms, they're a thing of the past. They're not going to just kill us because we're Jews. We're safe here. And so if you noticed, when the drone attacked Israel just a few weeks ago, I was there when it attacked, there wasn't much in the news because people are kind of used to it's not as safe as I used to think it was safe. What Micha Goodman says is that since it's a country which is led by fear, it's learned its lesson. I can't go that far to the left. I'm not doing that again. You've seen the seats. But now we've gone all the way to the right. And the fear is that, something that's not working either. And 75 to 80% of Israel in the surveying is showing that right there in the middle, there seems to be another tear starting to happen right now. One side says, end the war right now and bring the hostages home. That's what this, people who wear yellow there. It's a little more complicated when you're here. But if you're in Israel, that's kind of what yellow means when you see it everywhere. The other side says, we want those hostages home, but we're not going to stop until the job is done. And Israel thinks there's still this divide, but the reality is both of those sides are still coming from that place of fear. And with those two sides, what Micha Goodman argues is that since the right is not going to be tenable and the left still has that trauma, he believes the country is going to start getting pushed into the center. But it comes back to that main question that Moses asks us. When your brothers go to war, are you just going to stay here? What are you going to do? That's the question for us when we're sitting out on the very edge of a continent next to the Pacific Ocean, not worried about missiles. And for us, even though it may be a place of fear, we play a very different role. It becomes our job, because we are one people, to be the place of hope. When you're in the darkness and in the muck, it's very hard to imagine hope at times. It's hard to talk about over there what a two-state solution would look like. How is that safe? You know, the West Bank, it's like a mile over there. It's not that far. How do I do that? But that is where the onus moves to us, where what we do as a people abroad matters now more than ever. It's not that we should be just checked out or just reading the news, but we should be engaged in the conversation. And some people may say, you Americans, you're crazy. How can you talk about it? You don't even understand what it's like there. And it's true, I don't know what it's like there. But at the same time, I can sit there and I can dream about what the world could be, even if it's not there yet. Because that's always what Judaism has been about. It's never been about a world that is. It's always been about a world that ought to be. We are a messianic tradition where the Messiah has not been here yet, but I could dream what it could be like. That's what Shabbat's about. That's why when Rabbi Paris had us do the Amidah, when you read through those prayers, there was nothing in there saying, oh, you know, I wish my stocks did well this week. I wish I had more food. We don't ask for anything, because for one day a week, we act like the world is perfect, even though we know it's not perfect. But if I can taste it and feel it and act like it in a communal play, maybe we can get it closer and closer to that. The onus on us as the Jews in the diaspora, as the Jews sitting on the other side of the Jordan River looking in, is to remember that we have a bigger responsibility than ever. And I'd like to think that when you see Israelis and they say, thank you, part of the thank you is for the onus on us, for the onus of us bringing hope. Shabbat Shalom.